Hello, everyone. You're listening to Random Sage with Maryann from Revealing Light. This is my first podcast for the year for Random Sage. It is a sister channel to my other channel, Revealing Light, Tarot, Astrology and Spirituality. And this is the channel for those that may be new listeners that aren't aware. This is the channel where we look at current events from a higher point of view. And so I want to just look at how 2025 has begun. We started the year, of course, with in the US with a MAGA civil war between Elon Musk and let's just largely group them as the tech bros and the MAGA founding members, MAGA purists. And we'll name those as Steve Bannon, Laura Loomer types. Massive civil war that is still going on. In fact, Steve Bannon was at one point Trump's major cheerleader and occupied a desk at the White House himself. We've just been told that Elon Musk will get a desk at the White House or next to the White House. He calls Elon Musk the most evil man in the world. So we've got this real live tensions between the MAGA movement, if we want to call them that, and that's not going to go away at any time soon, because every time there's a policy that's enacted that goes against what they thought they were getting when they voted for Trump, it's going to be pretty brutal. It's an interesting thing. I had the thought that perhaps Steve Bannon's hostility toward Elon Musk may actually be secretly, I guess, F47, that's what we're going to call him, F for felon, because he is a convicted felon. F47 actually may support Steve Bannon's hostility toward Elon Musk. We already know from the Jeffrey Epstein tapes, which the media ignored before the election, that F47, when he was 45, his pastime was to pit his staff against one another. So we know that's what he likes to do, make it a little bit hot in the tent for everybody, and of course dividing and conquering. So we had the MAGA civil war. The volatile start to 2025 was actually very much expected by myself and many of my viewers, by anyone who was closely followed F47's first term. We knew it was going to be like this. We are actually expecting the worst. And of course, out of the gate, not even president yet, we heard him say that he would not rule out military nor economic coercion against Greenland if Denmark and Greenland didn't come to the party and sell the US Greenland. He's talking about taking the Panama Canal back. A couple of years ago, I got the vision of soldiers, military landing in a particular South American country. I thought that was Russia at the time. God help us all if this is American troops in South America forcibly taking sovereign territory from another nation. And we've all heard the rhetoric. I'm just going to call them insults because they haven't been called insults by much of the mainstream media. Insults against the sovereign nation of Canada. Canada and Australia, my own nation, are very, very close partners in many ways. And to start to call Canada a 51st state of the US is highly offensive, not just to Canadians, but to everyone around the world. And on that, the EU has run a poll about which nations are either looking forward to F-47 becoming president, or actually very worried about it. And UK and EU were two of the countries that are extremely concerned about what a second term of this man actually means for their security and sovereignty. The leaders of Spain and France and Germany have come out in support of Denmark's rights, sovereign rights, and said you back off. You cannot threaten a NATO country in the way that you do. This is unprecedented in modern times, unprecedented, more than tensions. I don't know what to call it. It's pushback, unprecedented pushback, and warnings between allies to the US. It's unprecedented. So already out of the gate, we've got these things happening. The media mainstream, of course, many have rolled over, particularly the tech brothers. We have Mark Zuckerberg from Meta taking down fact-checking and allowing, in my country, would run foul of our anti-discrimination laws, allowing violent and often abusive and racist rhetoric against many marginalised or minority groups in our societies. We don't allow that in Australia. It will be interesting to see how we deal with this going forward. And I said last year that if F-47 was elected, I could see them interfering in Australia's upcoming federal election. I have seen nothing to tell me that that won't happen. In fact, it already is, with the US incoming Secretary of State saying Australia must do more to counteract China in the Indo-Pacific, and also throwing a kind of compliment to the opposition leader here, a Conservative Party, saying that maybe they could do more. So we're already seeing this kind of interference. Our own Prime Minister has warned Elon Musk from interfering in Australia's elections. Australia's elections, our Prime Minister said, are for Australians, and Australians decide their government, not international billionaires or other countries. In fact, he reminded people like Elon Musk that we have very strong election and other foreign interference laws, and of course they carry criminal penalties. So there's warnings already across the bow from the allies. Media are not, mainstream media, not really taking things up. As a former journalist, I know they're softening their leads, softening their language in this both sidism kind of new post-truth world that we live in. And unfortunately, we've seen some of the Democrats say that they're going to try and get on with F-47. Well, what a kick in the guts that is to their supporters. For starters, we've had the release of the special counsel's report on January the 6th, which I will read from shortly. But in a nutshell, that prosecutorial team were quite confident that they would be able to convict F-47. He was already found to be an insurrectionist, if you like, if you want to use that term, by an Arizona court. And of course, that went to the Supreme Court, who did some very fancy dancing and said if they want to block this candidate from the ballot, or indeed from the presidency, then they must pass some kind of legislation, impeachment, some kind of 2/3 majority type bar, if you like, to bar him from office. And of course, that ran afoul of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which quite clearly would have barred F-47 from office. So it is against that backdrop that the Democratic leaders, the media personalities, are saying, well, we're going to try and get on with this bloke. Well, you know what I reckon? I reckon that's utter bull dust. utter bull dust. Show some backbone. You don't have to fight every day, but you certainly don't have to say that. Acknowledge that your base still think of this person as an insurrectionist who has no right to the American presidency. So we think of him as an illegitimate president. That's the bottom line. He is an illegitimate president in our eyes and in the eyes of the 14th Amendment, according to the Arizona court, and of course Jack Smith, the special counsel, Joe Biden, now still president, but not for much longer. His Department of Justice were behind a prosecution for the January 6th events and were certain they could get a conviction. Of course, what happened is it never went to trial, due again to the Supreme Court of the United States doing some fancy dancing, and he was allowed on the ballot and, of course, won the election. Now, we do have to acknowledge that that there were people who sat this election out. You can't make up those figures. You can't distort the truth to suit yourself. Around 90 million people of eligible voters did not vote in the US election. That, and it was his win, or should I say Vice President Kamala Harris's loss. It wasn't too big to rig. Voter suppression, missing ballots, Russian misinformation campaigns, and worse, voter intimidation and bomb threats. All of those things were in broad daylight, and he still won. He still won, some would say falsely, but the Democrats did not push back. Joe Biden's cybersecurity team found no evidence of votes being changed or any nefarious type of spyware or anything else. However, what did occur was in broad daylight and nothing was done about it. And that follows a pattern in the US. George Bush, what's his name? George Bush II took all the West to war on a lie, and lives were lost, and nobody was prosecuted for that. Marshalling his own country and Western nations to war on a lie. No action was taken. How long did it take the DOJ to get started on the prosecution of F-47? It seems to me there's a pattern of white-collared crime. Nixon wasn't charged with anything. He resigned. They are let go. They are let go. And the same thing happened with F-47. And here we are. Here we all are. Because it's not just the US, is it, that's in this? It's the US and its allies. Mainstream media. I'll do a fuller podcast on mainstream media, but this both sidism is not going to work. The techno brothers are already shooting themselves in the foot. Masses of people are disengaging with American technology, and not so much technology, but American social media platforms, both within America and outside of America. On that, the likely ban of TikTok has driven Americans to another Chinese platform, which of course is the Chinese equivalent to Instagram. So young Americans, I actually went and had a look at it this morning, young Americans are now voting with their feet and saying, we don't want to be on Instagram, we don't want to be on Zuckerberg's platforms. If you're going to ban TikTok, we'll go join their Instagram equivalent. It's very interesting what is happening in this upside down world of ours right now. We have had the confirmation hearing for what I would consider probably F-47's worst. Well, they're all bad, let's face it, confirmation picks. Pete Hegseth, it was brutal. It was shocking. He's accused of sexual assault. He's denied that, and he said it was consensual. He's been accused of alcohol abuse and inappropriate behavior in his past positions. There's a whole bunch of things, including not actually being qualified at a senior level to do the job, which has gone against him. He didn't know what ASEAN stands for. Senator Duckworth asked him, and he didn't know. And so we get basic not misunderstandings, just dumb. So for your information, ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, it's on our doorstep, but no, Australia's not a member. No, Pete Hegseth, you got that wrong too. The members are Indonesia, Vietnam, Laos, Brunei, Thailand, Myanmar, the Philippines, Cambodia, Singapore, and Malaysia. Right on America's doorstep in the Indo-Pacific. Didn't know what that major group was. Unqualified for the job. But, guess what? F-47 is probably going to ram him through. Okay, and what do allies think about all that? Well, you will find that less and less will be as forthcoming with intelligence as what they were before. In fact, if I looked at it clairvoyantly, I could probably tell you they're already hiding stuff. They're already putting stuff away. So there's stuff that's going forward and stuff that isn't. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, let's get to Jack Smith's report. By the way, it is lovely to reconnect with you. I hope you've all had a really peaceful and worry-free New Year. I really do hope that. As for me, you can see I've got a brace on my left hand and a sleeve on my right. I've had an arthritis flare, and of course my hands are the ones that are very, very volatile, and I've dislocated a CMC joint, a metacarpal joint at the base of the thumb. So not a great start for the new year, but there you have it. That's life, isn't it? We don't always get what we want, and we've just got to roll with the punches, as my dearly beloved and passed over mother used to say. Maryann, learn to roll with the punches. Okay. Let's look at the Jack Smith report next. And then we'll just pull some general cards around what 2025 is going to look like. Jack Smith, and also how we can try and understand it from another point of view. Jack Smith's report was fairly damning, as we would have expected. A lot of the information, a lot of the allegations are already in the public domain. I should say they haven't been to trial yet, so F-47 is innocent until proven guilty. But Jack Smith's report was quite damning. He talked about criminality and deceitful behavior, and really interesting, taking his base for a ride, basically. My words, not his. But and that's interesting because that's a theme, a reoccurring theme. When you're an intuitive, you actually hear these reoccurring themes. That's a reoccurring theme that's already come up in the first 2 weeks multiple times around Musk versus Bannon and Luma and co. And the idea that he has conned his base. And of course, for those that look on, we saw this back in 2016. It's been a long road for us. What I think is going to happen as we move through the next year, because I think 2025 is going to be a huge year, both a hard year and also a year where we do take the wins. I think that that the underbelly that we only hinted at before, or we saw it, but we didn't really see it in graphic detail. I think the underbelly is going to be exposed. And many viewers come back and have said to me, but Pluto in Aquarius is supposed to be, it's supposed to be the second age, like we had the 60s. Well, Pluto, the Aquarian age, it should be better than this. And my answer to that is Pluto is the underbelly. It's the underworld. It is what is in the dark. It is what is hidden. Aquarius is technology, yes, innovation, the future. And what have we got now holding up and supporting and financially backing this current F-47 presidency? Technology companies. What are we seeing now? Technology companies basically playing into F-47's agenda and donating en masse to his inauguration, and generally going to kiss the ring, bend the knee, however you want to put it. We're seeing the greed, the honeypot with everybody's hands in it, the underworld, the underbelly. Watch the inauguration be exposed for what it is. My prediction is the actual people attending, the actual vibe of embracing this as a unified moment for the US and the West, and an optimistic glance at the future, that vibe will be missing. What you will see is a coterie of billionaires and ring kissers there, and a hardcore group of MAGA supporters. But beyond that, you'll see ratings decline. You'll see not much engagement from the wider, let's just call it the wider American public. It will be very obvious what's happened, and that's Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is also the humanitarian. It's very tempting for people to disengage. I would say do not disengage. This is going to be an era of our greatest weaknesses, but also our greatest strengths as humanitarians. And we're seeing the wonderful, with the tragic California fires, we're seeing this beautiful humanitarian type spirit come back to the fore. We see the ugliness through what F-47 is doing, trying to tie FEMA funding to the debt, raising the debt ceiling, that debt ceiling that all the Republicans were crying about last year, too high. We've got to get it down. We've got to get it down. Now we're seeing almost like a blackmail to raise it. And so this, of course, is Pluto in Aquarius. The question is, would America do this a third time? And I think in 2025, I'm talking about vote someone like F-47 in again. I think what you're going to see is a massive failure of this administration, and it's a massive wake-up call that wasn't heeded before, but will be jammed and rammed with Pluto in Aquarius down people's whatever throats of all persuasions, to see just how foolish it was to go down this path at such a volatile time in humanity's future. We face multiple climate change events. We have done. This was all out there. Everybody knows. And it's up to the intelligence and the awareness, not even intelligence, the awareness, because everybody's evolving at different levels. Some people have very good emotional intelligence. Some have academic intelligence. Some have all-round intelligence. Some have very good intuitive and spiritual intelligence. So there's all ways of knowing the truth. But I think what we're heading for with Pluto in Aquarius, the best case scenario is that after much adversity, there can be no doubt what needs to take place to literally save the US. Save the US. All right, let's look at let's look at a general prediction here on Random Sage. By the way, my book is out at the end of this month, A Revealing Light, How Cancer Illuminated My Divine Blueprint. You can find it on Amazon. I'll leave a link underneath this podcast to it. It's out on January the 28th. And it's about resolve when, the worst happens, how you pick yourself up off the floor, how you navigate forward, what spiritual gifts, intuitive gifts you can use, and how you can transform your life into something much, much richer than it was before and build strength out of adversity. All right, that's Revealing Light, How Cancer Illuminated My Divine Blueprint. Okay, as I struggle with the cards today because my hands aren't quite healed from the arthritis flare. Again, another side effect of treatment, my immune system malfunctioning. As former cancer survivors say, cancer is the gift that keeps giving. Unfortunately, that is extremely true. Sometimes the treatment can be worse but no, I won't say that. Okay, the treatment can be very harsh. All right, let's take a look at 2025. Let's go to America. Okay, so America and the Western world, we have BRICS, which is the Southern Global Order, led by Russia and China, South Africa and India, withdrawing from purportedly, I haven't confirmed that yet, purportedly withdrawing from the International Monetary Fund, which frees them up to use other currencies other than the US dollar. The world is changing, that much we know. What a difference a charismatic and innovative and compelling leader of compelling leader of the US might have made this time. But unfortunately, that is not the case. They chose the worst possible person they could at a very volatile time. Okay, we're going to see how bad that choice was in the next 12 months. All right, the world in 2025. Let's look. Can US democracy survive? Well, not even democracy. Can the US Republic survive? Trump, can the Western world survive? Trump, show me 2025, the highs, the lows. Show it to me clearly, please. What can we expect in 2025? What can the world expect in 2025? A Five of Pentacles always wants to jump out, and this is downturns, financial downturns. I speak about that a lot. I keep getting the same messages. What can the world expect in 2025? The US, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad. All right. Okay, let's see. Let me put down the cards. So straight away we get the oligarchy, and we get a lot of emotion coming through. This is an emotional reset. With that Five of Pentacles falling out, it's about the other side of Pluto and Aquarius. It's about the people power taking back their power. We get patient, be patient. The two of wands, something coming to fruition, but in time. We have a lot of worry and paranoia that dogged November and December across the world. That's in the past now as we literally roll our sleeves up. The King of Pentacles, the businessman, the oligarch, is dominating this reading. And of course, why would we think otherwise? This is a time where literally the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. We get the Lovers card, relationships. We're going to see those that will bend and kiss the ring in multiple ways, not just within the US, but outside of the US. Relationships are highlighted for us as well. families and communities, this, part of the collective taking back their power, it begins with local action. Local action, unity at the local level. So in a way, his F-47's election has taken us away from globalism and focusing on our own interest. Isn't that interesting? I don't think he wanted it that way, but that's what I see. Coming together, many, many skill sets, many people coming together and working to rebuild, because the Three of Pentacles is a rebuilding or a building energy. And so even as dark as it gets, you're still going to see new alliances, the UK and the EU growing closer, new trade alliances perhaps. Perhaps Canada looks to diversify its trade across the world. Perhaps there is pushback against this idea that we have to follow this president down his path of trying to dampen and suppress China. Perhaps in our region where I'm from, perhaps Australia is wiser than that, to undiplomatically handle our biggest trading partner. You're going to see a lot of change within change. The past is in the hopes and fears. It's interesting, when we fear the future, we're automatically basing that on the past, what has happened in the past. And I think we've got to let go, in a way, let that go, because part of Pluto and Aquarius is innovation. Perhaps we have to get innovative in every way, including managing our fear and worry. Queen of Cups, looking after oneself, looking after one's own interests. You will see that happen within states. It's a breaking off, in a way, a breaking off and a reordering. And this may not be such a bad thing. Finding our passion and moving forward with it. This inertia that we see in the US and beyond, that's going. Things will start to speed up. We will move more toward nurturing and caring for ourselves, our communities, our regions, our states, and less toward looking at the oligarchical power structures that are letting us so badly down. And we do get this move toward moderation, temperance, and healing here. And this is what I feel and what I've predicted in the past for 2025, that this is a big wake-up call for all. And there will be, as much in all as there will be disappointments, there's also going to be wins. Expect deceit. Expect dishonesty. Expect lies. We've got the Eight of Pentacles. It's, in a way, this is the Apprentice card. I'm not that competent. And guess what? We have a downfall, the Ten of Swords, and the ending of the era. And so this is very much what we're seeing now in 2025, is very much the end of the Pluto in Capricorn era. In fact, the US election was held when Pluto was still in Capricorn. And now we're starting to see that we have the power still, even though we felt powerless, we still have the power to create our own destinies. Nobody can take that away. And we'll be doing more of that. Local action at the local level, local, regional, state. Moving away from this idea of social media that is abusing us. Why would we stay there? Mass movement away from X, Elon Musk's X. Mass movement are now away from Meta. And they're going to find out you cannot take, it's a disintegration of their platforms, a degeneration of their platforms. If you don't believe me, just open it up and take a look at the filth, the lies, the unadulterated BS, bull dust that's coming through those platforms now. I open them up and I shut them straight away. I think I'm not the only one. Anyway, watch carefully for 2025. You're not going to be as powerless as what you think. You're listening to Maryann from Revealing Light, and this is Random Sage. I'll be back again with another podcast. But for now, namaste and goodbye.